Hey everybody, it's Carol Billing, and I'm very excited to welcome Heather to tell us about disability services. So Heather, what do students need to know about disability services?
Okay, so I'm just going to do a brief overview. This is, if you can see right now, we're on our disability services website. The number one thing that I like to tell students is even if you don't have a disability or need accommodations, it's still good to know about us in case you ever have a friend or somebody in your class that needs some help, and then you can direct them our way now that you know a little bit about us. So I'm just going to do a brief overview and then give you guys our contact information so you can contact us at the end if you have any questions. This is our website. If you come to the main CWIdaho.cc website and roll your mouse over current students, you can click directly on disability services. Right here, it's already highlighted. And then it brings up this main page. And then right here, you get an overview of everything that we cover. And it's also going to be on the sidebar. And I'm just going to start right here. So if you click on student accommodations, kind of tells you what we do a little bit. And then requesting reasonable accommodations. If you scroll down to the bottom, click on the application for accommodations, it's going to download, and then it's going to bring up this page where you can fill out an application, hit submit form, put your email address and your full name, and it'll come directly to our email address, and it's called accessibility@cwidaho.cc. I just wanted to go over this first before we go over everything that we cover, just so you guys kind of see how this works. And it's awesome because it comes directly to this website, and the only people that can see it is myself and then my other counterpart, Terry Schofield, at our Ada County campus. You can also print this page out. Some students say they like to print and write on it and then just bring it directly with them to the appointment. And it just asks a few questions like your student ID number, your name, how you learned about our office, if you have an academic advisor, and then please state your disability, giving us a brief description, and then the accommodations that you're asking for. And then we can set up an appointment to discuss a little bit about what you want to meet about. So I'm not going to save this because I'm not turning it in, but that's kind of like the brief overview of how to submit an application. And then the really cool part is now we have a section for faculty on here, but students can also read this, and it's a faculty Q&A, but it talks a lot about the student side of it, things like, hey, what do I do if a student had documentation and turned it into me? But you as the student can actually come on here and learn a little bit. If your parents are interested in learning a little bit about the differences of being a high school student to coming to college, you can click on the parent section, and it goes through this entire process again.
Oh, nice.
This is a good section for students to go over. It talks about the differences between K through 12 and then the college side and what the responsibilities are for students. And then it just talks about a little bit more about like when you were in high school, what you would have had transferring to college and how all of that changes once you're in college. Then we have some links. So if you don't have a diagnosis, but you think you might have a disability and you've always been concerned and want to know, right here, there's testing centers for psychological evaluations, and then some outside resources are also on our page. Unfortunately, we don't have, oh, I should have silenced my phone, sorry. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone on campus that actually does these requests and does these diagnoses, so we would have to send you out. If you don't have any health insurance, it can get a little bit expensive, but a lot of these places do sliding scale fees, so it doesn't hurt just to call them and set up an appointment to meet with them. For any accommodation that we're going to offer students, we're always going to ask you to have your documentation with you. And then that's pretty much our website. So I'm just going to do a little bit of talking to tell you a little bit about what we do. So not only do we give accommodations to students with learning disabilities, but we also help students who are returning vets who may have PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, or may have suffered a traumatic brain injury. We also help students who are blind and visually impaired, and then our deaf and hard of hearing population. And we also touch a little bit about Title IX. The one thing that the ADA covers, but also Title IX covers, is going to be our small pregnant population at the college. So if you are a pregnant student and happen to have a due date in the middle of the semester, or you have some pregnancy complications, you can always come and see us and we can set up some accommodations for you. And then another population that we hit on is temporary disabilities. So if you got in a major car accident, or if you have to all of a sudden get your appendix taken out, or some type of major surgery, you can come and see us. Or even if you just like broke your foot playing soccer or something and then you need surgery because of that, it's always a good thing to call us up and see if you qualify. You may not always qualify for accommodations, but it's better to come see us and see if you can get any help in your classes, and we can kind of be that middle person communicating and helping you get what you need from your instructors to help you succeed. The other thing that we do is we help students who have difficulty reading. So if you may be dyslexic, or you just get distracted when you read and it's better to hear an audio version of a book, we can order you audiobooks, and we also help with some assistive technology. Some other accommodations that we help students with are note-taking accommodations, and then the most frequent one that's asked is probably extended testing time and then testing in a separate room. So you can come over to where my office is in the Micron building, and you can test in the assessment center. So I went through things pretty fast, but I think that's the basic of what our office covers. I just don't think a lot of students know about us, even though all of your syllabus should say a small brief statement about our office. But if you don't know really what we do, you would see that and read right over it. So it's better to kind of see a face and who does all the behind the scenes work. Something to know is that everything that our office does is extremely confidential. I think students really struggle with coming and saying, oh my gosh, well, in high school, everybody knew what I did, and I was like pinpointed out. They called me to go to a different area. I really don't want to do anything like that in college. Well, you're in good hands, because that's not going to happen when you come here. Even my boss, he does not see any of the documentation that you'll turn in. None of your instructors will see it. No students will see it. So it kind of protects your privacy and takes away that angst of coming and seeing us. We're not the bad guys. We're going to help you and keep all of your information very confidential. If you were to transfer to Boise State or another four-year university when you're done here, we also wouldn't share that information with them unless you asked. And then nothing's going to be on any of your permanent records or your transcripts or anything saying that you got accommodations. To touch a little bit more on that, I think a lot of students who are going to get like a professional technical degree, or maybe move on to wanting to get like a nursing or a dental hygiene degree, are a little bit more afraid to come see us because they don't want like their future employer to know that they had accommodations. But again, we can't share any of that information. So that's something that I want all students to know. Sometimes students want their teachers to know, and we still don't share that information unless you specifically tell us that we can, or we ask you just to set up an appointment to meet with them to kind of go over your accommodations and why you're getting them. But other than that, they'll just get a form from our office saying what you're actually getting for the semester. You'll meet with them, and then you'll set up a plan to succeed a little bit better in your classroom.
Yeah, I would agree that I think students are apprehensive to come because they just don't want to share it, or they don't want to be labeled as this or that in college as they were before. And I will tell you, as a former high school teacher, I had a ton of information about my kids on IEPs or 504s. I mean, I got the full report. I knew the diagnosis. I knew all the accommodations. I spoke frequently with special ed teachers to make my accommodations successful for my students. I think that's not the case for every faculty, because a lot of faculty at college haven't taught K-12. Some have. But I can definitely say that here I'm blind, like I don't know anything. I get the paper and I get they'll tell me what accommodations to make for a student. And oftentimes I'm like, gosh, I wish I had more information, because maybe if I knew what their diagnosis was, I could have a reason to give them additional accommodations, or like flex or whatever. But I respect that it's a different format. So I will definitely say, though, that you don't share anything.
Yeah. The only time that we will tell the students is if you have something like a seizure disorder, epilepsy,
Yeah.
or some form of like disorder where you constantly pass out, or the instructors just have to be aware, mainly because it could be a liability issue and just for your safety, but we will always let you know and ask you if it's okay if we say that. If you're going to get a major surgery, sometimes we ask, hey, do you want to let the instructors know? And then the students say, well, I already told my teacher everything. And so we kind of put it back on you to tell them. But yeah, like Carol said, we try to keep everything confidential that comes through this office. So
yeah, definitely does. And that's what happens is my students end up working with me, and they will tell me things that help me help them, because I do want them to be successful. And having kids that have, I have kids, like I've been to Northwest Neuro Behavioral. I've had one kid go through there for testing. They are great. The packet they give you is amazing.
yeah.
My health insurance did help cover it, so it wasn't so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think oftentimes students don't realize that sometimes faculty have had very personal relationships in lots of different areas that are similar to what you've covered today. So anyway, students will tell me a lot of times about what their diagnosis is, and that's helpful because I've taught lots of different kinds of students, and there's some that have similar accommodations and that sort of thing. What's really interesting is when I first started teaching here, coming from high school, is I would get so many dyslexic students at community college that were undiagnosed, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I mean, I would talk to them like, do you ever switch letters?
Yeah.
Because you can tell as an instructor,
Mm-hmm.
you can start to pick out the kids that have dyslexic tendencies, but there's like sort of a range of them. I always kept saying, you need to go get an accommodation. Like this is legit. Like this is legit. You should have more time. And then having the experiences I've had with my children and learning about how you process information differently when you have ADHD or dyslexia. Boy, I tell you, when you talk to a professional, it certainly makes things like, oh, I get it now. I understand why I do this or whatever, and make accommodations. And yeah, when I was going through high school, there was, I'm sure there was a dyslexic accommodation, but I never knew about it. And I just had teachers who would say to me, you need to slow down. You need to double check your work because you're switching your letters and switching your numbers. And so I just like figured out ways to overcome it, but it was like incredibly hard,
Yeah.
So I have a personal reason for always telling students, like, you need to go see Heather. I'm so excited to see that you have it online now, though, because we didn't always have that. It was a lot more paper-centric, and quite honestly, it was hard. And so the online is great. Can you flip back to that link where they can request? And that's so great. I love that you have that online now.
So if you come right here to requesting reasonable accommodations, and then it kind of tells you the whole steps on how to do it, like speak with the appropriate coordinator of student disability services, location, and all of that. And then you scroll down, it tells you, like, we really, really want you to come and meet with us before the semester starts if you can. We won't reject you at any time in this semester if you come in the middle or towards the end. The only thing is that we tell you is that your accommodations are not retroactive, meaning they start once you meet with us and you meet with your instructor. If you are deaf or hard of hearing and you would like a sign language interpreter in your class, you're going to probably want to meet with us at least 6 weeks prior to the semester starting. I know that's not always the case, but the sooner the better, so we can make sure that you have the appropriate accommodations for when the classes start. And then you just click down here at the bottom where it says application for accommodations, and then it'll download and it'll bring it right up. And you can just hit submit. If I click on this, I don't think it's going to show because it's been kind of silly, but
that's okay. The head of the semester is pretty key, especially, like I always say, gosh, if I would have known I was going to have a hard of hearing student in my online class, I would early, like before the semester starts, I would go back through my content and see if there's anything they were going to have trouble with, because as a faculty, our online classes are not perfect, you know.
Yeah.
We're working to improve them, and it's definitely better now than it was 5 years ago. Oh my gosh, right? How many years have you been here, Heather? I can't remember.
I have been here now a little bit over 4 years.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
made, I would like to say we've made vast improvements over
Yeah.
the last 4 years. We're still trying every day. As I said, our email is actually called accessibility@cwidaho.cc. So we're going to eventually change all of our forms and all of our office name to accessibility services instead of disability services, just so it's a little bit more welcoming. I think
Yeah.
some students come here and say, well, I don't have a disability, you know, and it's like, yeah, you don't, but you might just need a little bit of help, you know, or just because you need surgery doesn't mean that you have a disability. So we just want to kind of change our name to be a lot more accommodating and a lot more welcoming to students. So
I love that. That's great. I love that this is easier, way better. But definitely, if you know you're going to take a class online and you're hard of hearing or a vision issue in an online class, I mean, anything you can tell the faculty beforehand is going to help them prepare the content better for you.
yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of content in an online class. I mean, there's a lot. So yeah, I've had my workstay students like go through my content and find out what's captioned and not captioned. And poor Heather has gotten these lists of videos that need to be fixed. So Heather and I have spent a lot of quality time together. The last thing I wanted you to reiterate was temporary situations that might require accommodations, because I don't think students realize that like pregnancy, what else do you see for those temporary accommodations?
A lot of it's like pregnancy, then like concussions. So this semester we have a student who got hit in the head with actually weights that she had up in her closet, and it hit the back of her head. She had to get major surgery like staples and stitches. And so and then when you have a concussion, that can last anywhere from like maybe 2 weeks to up to like 6 months to a year. And so she's actually in her last semester here and just found out that she can get services from us. So it's awesome because her memory has been slightly off. She can't drive right now. So if you have something temporary where it comes up where you are unable to drive or make it to class for something specific, like I said, we have to have that medical documentation just to back it up. So we're not just sending anybody, any instructor accommodation saying, oh, the student doesn't have to go to class or something. We're not the nurse's office. I think with temporary disabilities, people make that mistake and think, oh, I'm sick today or something. But no, we don't. We're not like the office of excused absences. We're for this. So, and people do make that mistake. So I just want to make that clear. But yeah, so if you were to get in a car accident or if you needed surgery, sometimes even something as small as like needing your wisdom teeth out and being put on some heavy medications and painkillers where you can't drive or you're going to be sleeping for most of the day. We try to have students be a little bit smart about how they schedule these appointments. Try to schedule it for a Friday, so the most time that you're out is like maybe 1 or 2 class periods. Also, you don't want to miss too much class because then you're making up work and doing all the work that you're currently on in that week. So we go over all of that when you meet with us, just to remind you, if you're going to be falling behind, you're going to be making that up plus what you're currently doing in your classes. So yeah, did that help kind of go over that a little bit more?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the pregnancy one is important because people say, oh, I usually don't have a problem, but you should get it anyway, just in case you do get sick, like really sick or whatever.
Especially with pregnancy, sometimes you're like, oh, my due date might be like a month after school ends, but you don't know if something can happen or if you have to go and deliver your baby a lot sooner. It's better to come see us before than after because we can do a lot of planning before. If you are in the middle of the semester and have to, sometimes you're covered to miss a lot of classes. So if you're a student that may need to miss up to 6 weeks of classes, then we're going to have special planning meetings with your instructors, make sure we have a brand new plan for you, probably set up an incomplete for that semester and see how you can continue and finish the semester off successfully. So it's really important to see us the sooner the better. I think that's, if I can't say anything more, it would be not to wait until the last minute to see us, because then there's not much we can do, and there's not much your instructors can do. It's not that we're being the bad guys or we don't want to help. It's just once it's too late, it's kind of like you're at a loss. So I say, even if you don't think that you'll need to come see us, better just to make an appointment or just to stop on by to either my office or Terry's office. I did want to show where our contact information is as well on our website.
And which campuses are you at?
I'm at the Nampa PTE office. So we're in the Micron building where the One Stop is, and then there's the bookstore. I'm actually right above the bookstore on the second floor where the assessment center is. They're in room 2105, and then I'm kind of in the back corner in 2107. So I'm in an office within an office. A little bit harder to find, but once you're in this building, there's so much signage now that says where my office is because I want to make sure students can find me easily. So
okay, so you're at the Micron in Nampa.
Mm-hmm. And then Terry is in our Boise campus where the Ada Links campus is. That's where the new One Stop is. And then on the other side is their assessment center, and she's inside the assessment center as well.
Okay.
And so if you come back to our main page and scroll to the bottom, has my picture and then Terry's picture, her phone number, and then my phone number and our email. So we want you to have our direct lines. We're not people that are not going to want to talk to you. We'd rather you speak to us directly to get the answers that you need for specific questions. And then right here is our accessibility at CWI Idaho email. Me and Terry have that access to that along with our boss, Shane Ostermeyer. So we're the only three that will see those. But Terry and I check that inbox every day to make sure we're answering any questions. And that's where your application will come directly into that inbox if you submit it online. But lately I feel like students just print it off, and then either way, sometimes you can just even come to our office the same day and fill it out while you're with us. So we just like to have it. So if you're at home, if you want somebody to help you fill it out, and you're more comfortable doing that while you're not sitting right in front of us, or if you actually want help and want us to do it, then we're here to help too. So
awesome. That's great. Well, I appreciate all your work because I know in working with you that you work really hard for students.
Thank you.
All right, great. Well, there's the email. If anybody has questions, they can get it there. And with that, I think it's a wrap.
Bye.
Bye.